The first quarter, they were walking the ball up. Walk. They were just passing it around. They were just going through the mud, shooting shots. Brick. And then the second quarter, Caitlin Clark said,
"Oh, it's time to go rogue.
Oh, it's time to do my own thing. Pull up, bang. Pull up, bang. Pull up, bang. Turn around, fade away, midi, bang."
6 points. The Indiana Fever scored 6 points in the first quarter against a 5-12 Phoenix Mercury team. Not 16, not 60. 6. Through 9.5 minutes of game time, they had managed exactly 3 points. This is a team with the Rookie of the Year frontrunner, the highest paid player in the league, and a coach who spent the entire offseason talking about her championship pedigree. And they put up 6 points in 12 minutes of basketball. But here's what makes this fascinating. What happened next wasn't Stephanie White's carefully orchestrated offensive system finally clicking into place. It wasn't some brilliant halftime adjustment or timeout speech. What happened was Caitlin Clark looked around at the disaster unfolding, said forget this entire approach, and decided to go completely rogue. She stopped walking the ball up the court. She stopped running the sets. She stopped waiting for permission. And suddenly, the Fever scored 35 points in the second quarter alone.
On pace for a 30-point game. I know you're on pace for that. I know you're on pace for a 30 and 10. I get it. But everybody needs to eat here. We're all inclusive here in Indiana. We need to make sure everybody eats. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to sit you down and we're going to let Kelsey Mitchell get her points in the third quarter. Yeah! Woohoo! And I felt myself saying, man, why does this third quarter seem so different than the second quarter? Oh, because we're playing inclusive basketball.
Watch that sequence again. That's not a play call. That's not something drawn up in practice. That's Caitlin Clark recognizing that doing things Stephanie White's way was leading them straight toward the most embarrassing loss of the season and making an executive decision to take over the game. Pull up 3, bang. Another pull up 3, bang. Step back, bang. Turn around, fade away from mid-range, bang. 4 consecutive possessions where she didn't run a single set, didn't wait for screens to develop, didn't defer to the offensive flow. She just went into takeover mode.
Caitlin Clark finished the game 24 points, 9 assists with a plus 13. Caitlin Clark played a good game. Can't really say anything negative about Caitlin Clark's game today. When she did it Stephanie White's way, When she did it her way, oh, the offense was moving. What a coincidence. What a coinky dink. When you do it Caitlin Clark's way, the team don't look too bad. They actually look passable. But when you do it Stephanie White's way, ooh, Stephanie White, just stay out the way. Just do us all a favor, Stephanie, and just stay out of the way. Please. Thank you.
Now here's where it gets really interesting. Going into the third quarter, Caitlin Clark was on pace for a 30-point, 10-assist game. She was cooking. She had single-handedly turned a historic embarrassment into a comfortable lead. The offense was flowing. The energy was up. The crowd was into it. Everything was working. So naturally, Stephanie White sat her down for most of the third quarter, not because of foul trouble. Caitlin had plenty of fouls to give. She sat her down because Kelsey Mitchell needed to get her shots up. Because apparently, when your rookie point guard is having a takeover performance that's saving your entire season from a catastrophic loss to a bad Phoenix team, the most important thing is making sure the scoring is evenly distributed. Look at the minutes played. Kelsey Mitchell played 3 more minutes than Caitlin Clark in a game where Caitlin was clearly the reason they were winning. And watch what happens to the offense in that third quarter when Caitlin's on the bench. It's back to the first quarter energy. Slow, methodical, everyone standing around waiting for Kelsey to get her touches. The lead stops growing. The momentum dies because they went back to playing inclusive basketball instead of winning basketball. This is the pattern we keep seeing. Caitlin takes over, the team looks unstoppable, and then Stephanie White steps in to make sure everyone gets their stats. As if the goal is balanced box scores instead of dominant victories. And the frustrating part is, it almost cost them this game against a 5-12 team at home.
But we won the game. Let's take a look. We got Caitlin Clark. Boom, pull up from 3. Splash. Then we do it again. Step back from 3. Splash. bang. Then she had a heat check 3. The heat check 3 was disgustingly gross. she had a heat check 3 from like 40 feet out. Missed it, but damn. Missed it, but damn. Then we have Dewana the scammer Bonner and Sophie Cunningham get into it. Don't point at me. Don't point at my face, Sophie. Sophie, don't point at me, Sophie. I'm sensitive, Sophie. Don't point at my face. Don't point at my face. And Sophie's like, yeah, I'm pointing at you. Oh, you again. Point at you again. Point at you again. Point at you again.
Then we get to the extracurricular activities. Late in the game, tensions boil over. Sophie Cunningham and Dewana Bonner get into it. Misha Hines-Allen and Alyssa Thomas are jawing at each other. Caitlin Clark's in the middle of it, getting a technical foul for clapping after Dewana Bonner tries to spin on her like she's about to do something. The refs are reviewing plays for 10 minutes at a time. Misha Hines-Allen gets ejected. The second half takes longer than the first half because the officials are stopping play every 90 seconds. And here's what that tells you. This game was way more competitive than it should have been. The Mercury are 5-12. The Fever are at home with a playoff caliber roster. This should have been a comfortable wire-to-wire victory. Instead, it's close enough in the fourth quarter that frustrations are boiling over and players are getting thrown out. Why? Because the Fever spent the first quarter playing Stephanie White's system and scored 6 points. They spent the second quarter playing Caitlin Clark's way and scored 35. Then they spent the third quarter trying to get Kelsey Mitchell her numbers, and the lead stopped growing. By the fourth quarter, what should have been a blowout had turned into a tense, chippy game where the Mercury thought they still had a chance.
If I had to take a guess, are they going to rescind it? Probably not. But I had to guess. That's what the technical was for. Misha Hines-Allen then gets ejected. Alyssa Thomas trying to bulldoze her way in there. Misha Hines-Allen, get out of my way. Yeah. Hey, Misha Hines-Allen, she wasn't playing. Misha Hines-Allen not playing at all. Her and Alyssa Thomas got back and forth after that initial dust up with Caitlin Clark and Dewana Bonner. So they're just letting that carry over. It's all right, Misha Hines-Allen. We fuck with you, Misha. This was the Caitlin Clark heat check I was talking about. Maybe tell a couple. Look at that. Nah, we're getting crazy here. Look at this play. Caitlin Clark and Alyssa Thomas going for the ball. Alyssa Thomas throws an elbow. Caitlin Clark gets called for a foul. Going for the ball. Alyssa Thomas throws an elbow. Caitlin Clark gets called for the foul. If you take a look at this angle,
Look at that sequence. Alyssa Thomas and Caitlin Clark going for a loose ball. Thomas throws an elbow. Caitlin gets called for the foul. Watch the replay from the other angle. The elbow misses, but Thomas still threw it, and Caitlin's the one who gets penalized. That's been the story all season. She gets the superstar treatment in terms of attention and criticism, but she doesn't get the superstar calls on the court. She gets bumped, grabbed, and elbowed, and half the time she's the one who ends up in the referee's notebook. But here's what matters. Despite all of it, despite the 6-point first quarter, despite getting benched in the third when she was cooking, despite the officials making this game last 3 hours with all their reviews and technical fouls, the Fever won, 86-77. And they won because Caitlin Clark refused to go along with the program in the second quarter and took over the game. 24 points, 9 assists, plus 13. She played a great game. Not a perfect game, but a great game. And more importantly, she played a winning game. When she was allowed to play her way, the Fever looked like a playoff team. When they tried to play Stephanie White's way, they looked like the worst offense in the league.
Literally the only like 2 players on the Phoenix Mercury. Like the only 2 players, you know what I mean? Take a look at the Indiana Fever. We got Kelsey Mitchell, 22 points, shooting 20 shots. Dribbling with her head down. Chuck. Dribble. Chuck. Chuck. You can't make this up. Shooting 40% for Kelsey Mitchell. Caitlin Clark, 8 for 17. 9 assists, only 3 turnovers. Again. Stephanie White. Put the handcuffs on her. Put the handcuffs on her in the third and said, you got to sit down in the third. We got to make sure Money Mitch gets off. And that's why Kelsey Mitchell's played 3 more minutes than Caitlin Clark.
Now let's talk about what this means for the rest of the season. The Fever are 17 games in, and we're still seeing this same pattern play out. Caitlin thrives when she's allowed to push pace, take over games, and play with freedom. The offense stalls when they try to slow it down and run structured sets that involve everyone touching the ball. Kelsey Mitchell shot 20 times in this game to finish with 22 points on 40% shooting. Caitlin shot 17 times and had 24 points plus 9 assists. One of those stat lines represents efficient winning basketball. The other represents a player who needs volume to get her numbers. And yet, Kelsey played more minutes. Aaliyah Boston, the highest paid player in the WNBA, gave them 8 points and 9 rebounds against Alyssa Thomas. Thomas ate her lunch on the first possession of the game, stole the ball, and Boston spent the rest of the night tentative. That's your max contract player. 8 points against a 5-12 team. The bench contributed 10 points total. 10. This is the same bench that supposedly went toe-to-toe with the Nigeria national team in practice. The same bench that's supposed to provide depth and energy. They gave you 10 points in a game that was way closer than it should have been. So here's what we learned from this game. When Caitlin Clark plays within Stephanie White's system, the Fever scores 6 points in a quarter. When Caitlin Clark says forget the system and takes over, they score 35. That's not a small difference. That's not a matter of shots falling or not falling. That's the difference between having a coherent offensive identity and having whatever that first quarter was. The question becomes, how long is Stephanie White going to keep trying to force this? How many more games do we need to watch where the Fever look terrible until Caitlin goes rogue and saves them? Because that's not sustainable. You can't build a playoff team around hoping your rookie point guard recognizes when to ignore the coach and take over. And let's be clear about what going rogue means. It doesn't mean Caitlin's being selfish or playing hero ball. Look at the assists. 9 assists in this game. She's still getting everyone involved. She's still making the right read. The difference is, she's doing it at her pace, not Stephanie White's pace. She's attacking in transition instead of walking it up. She's taking the shots when they're there instead of passing up good looks to get one more pass in. She's playing winning basketball instead of trying to make sure everyone eats. That first quarter was painful to watch. 3 points through 9.5 minutes against Phoenix at home with a full arena watching. That's the kind of performance that should trigger an immediate change in approach. Instead, we got 1 quarter of Caitlin taking over, then a 3rd quarter where she sat so Kelsey could get her numbers, then a 4th quarter where the game was way closer than it needed to be. Think about what this game should have looked like. The Mercury came in 5-12. They're not a good team. The Fever are at home with their full roster healthy. This should have been a 20-point blowout. Instead, it was a 9-point game where tempers flared in the 4th quarter because Phoenix thought they still had a chance to win. That's not a sign of a well-coached team executing a game plan. That's a sign of a team that's winning in spite of the game plan. And here's the thing about Stephanie White's approach. The inclusive basketball philosophy sounds great in press conferences. Everyone eats, everyone gets their touches, everyone feels valued. But basketball isn't a participation trophy sport. You don't get points for making sure everyone's happy with their shot attempts. You get points for running an efficient offense that maximizes your best player's strengths. Caitlin Clark's strength is pushing pace, creating in transition, and taking over games when needed. Kelsey Mitchell's strength is scoring in volume when she gets enough shots. Those two things are not equally valuable. One wins you games, the other pads stats. And right now, Stephanie White is treating them like they're equally important. Watch how other elite point guards are used. They're given the freedom to control pace, to take big shots, to dominate the ball when the game is on the line. They're not being benched in the 3rd quarter of close games, so a shooting guard can get her touches. They're not being asked to walk the ball up and run sets that involve everyone. When they're clearly hot, the Fever won this game. That's what matters in the standings. But they won it because Caitlin Clark recognized that the first quarter approach wasn't working and made an executive decision to change it. That's not a sustainable model for success. Eventually, you're going to run into a team that's better than 5-12 Phoenix, and you're not going to be able to dig out of a 6-point first quarter. So what happens next? Does Stephanie White recognize that her system isn't working and adjust? Or do we keep seeing this same pattern where the Fever struggle until Caitlin goes rogue? Because based on what we've seen so far this season, there's no indication that anything's going to change. The rotation is still questionable. The minutes distribution still doesn't make sense. The offense still stalls when they try to run structured sets. And the frustrating part is the talent is there. When Caitlin's allowed to play her game, this team looks dangerous. They score in bunches, they get out in transition, they create easy looks. But when they slow it down and try to make sure everyone gets their stats, they look like a lottery team. That's a coaching problem, not a talent problem. The Fever are now above 500. They've got Caitlin Clark playing at an all-star level. They've got Kelsey Mitchell, who can score in volume. They've got Aaliyah Boston, who despite only giving them 8 points in this game, is still a talented big. The pieces are there, but pieces don't win games. Systems win games. And right now, the system that's winning games is the one where Caitlyn ignores the actual system and does her own thing. So the question for Fever fans is this: are you comfortable with your team's success depending on a rookie recognizing when to go rogue? Because that's where we're at right now. 6 points in the first quarter, doing it Stephanie White's way. 35 in the second quarter, doing it Caitlyn's way. That's not a coincidence. That's not variance. That's a fundamental difference in offensive philosophy. And until Stephanie White figures out which one actually wins games, we're gonna keep seeing these frustrating performances where the Fever should dominate, but instead have to claw their way to victories against bad teams. Let me know in the comments, should Stephanie White just get out of the way and let Caitlyn run the show? Or is there value in trying to keep everyone involved even when it's clearly not working? Because from where I'm sitting, the answer is pretty obvious. Like the video if you agree, subscribe for more Fever coverage, and let's see if anything changes going forward. My guess? It won't. But at least Caitlin Clark knows how to win games when it matters.